Hey guys, okay, seeing if this is working. Looks like it. I just wanted to see if I could see the timer here. Okay. Hi, I haven't seen you in a while. I took 2 weeks off. I celebrated my birthday and I really unplugged during that time, and that was a really interesting time during already a pandemic time, so it was like unplugging, like double downing and the unplugging. And so a lot of stuff happened during that week that I still haven't quite figured out even myself, and so I'm writing about it and thinking about it. And yeah. And last week I just kind of did it 50% back in, and so I feel like that was a really good way. I would highly recommend it if anyone can do it. I mean, I know it was actually very interesting in how hard it was to do that. Because I actually wasn't going anywhere. So that's an aside. So I have that going on, and then I also because I was unplugging a little and maybe just having more of perspective. I've been dismayed about shaming in this whole pandemic, and I'm having some really epiphanies about. I feel like this whole thing is a sociological experiment, and I'm feeling very sensitive to things. So I'm trying to back off of maybe a lot of social media because I feel triggered by just comments all the time, where, like, it's not necessarily aimed at me because no one's shaming me because I'm not telling anyone what I'm doing during this time. I have just absorbed the information, and I'm doing what I feel is necessary given my work life, my personal life, my everything, just given all of my parameters, what makes most sense to me, and that's what I'm following. But I'm not telling anyone exactly what my method is because everyone's method is different for this, which is interesting too. But like, what I really at this point am most triggered by is just the people who I'm just noticing are shaming everyone else, and even if it's not directed at me, it just makes me really. It's just a hard. That's what I think I'm struggling with most right now, everyone. And so I wanted to just point that out as far as uh during these videos, because obviously I'm doing them because of this time, and so why not talk about this time as well? So I'm going to start melding those in a little bit as it seems appropriate to do so. But mainly, so that's a little bit of a recap of kind of where I've been, what I've been thinking about, why I might feel off, why I'm wearing my cap that like makes me feel like it's like Linus blanket. But actually, I did want to where I had left off with the bodega is with the barbershop boys. And so to recap a little bit about, I was talking about the neighborhood shop owners and how they really taught me about the community. And the barbershop boys, it was interesting because I didn't know that they all knew each other. When you're behind the counter, you don't know necessarily who knows each other, right? Until after a while. But like in hindsight, I guess I could have deduced, like the common denominator was like pepperoni sticks, Red Bull, and a lot of like talk about like, oh man, I'm so hungover and I gotta go to work though. And always be like, where do you work? Because I think they were open one weekend day that I don't, whether it was Saturday or Sunday. I worked both, and I think they were open one. So that was mainly when I would always be like, "Where do you work?" and like, "Oh, the barber shop." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Now I'm piecing it all together. So of the barbershop boys, it was the owner. Call him Jose. He was quiet, and I mean they were all still around, right? Um, but he was very respectful and quiet and but I knew I was in with him when he sent one of his kind of interns down to the corner store and said, "Oh, the lady down there will know what I want." And I pulled down, it was like a Newport King and a like a Dutch Irish fusion. God, sometimes it just comes back to me out of the blue. I'm not kidding. And I pulled them out and I was like, I think this might be what he's speaking of. I felt so cool. Right? I mean, and and then but they were just characters and they showed me how because here's this like an African American Latino barbershop, primarily male. I mean, I've never seen a lady in there. Maybe I have. I don't know. I mean, I've never been in there myself, but I feel welcome. You know what I mean? It's just a hangout. It's an old time hangout, whatever. Um, and so the other barber that I love is Miguel. And he would skateboard in, and he'd always get his pepperoni sticks, but he'd always get paper towels too. And a proper bodega lady never asked too much about the purchases. You know, you just keep it on the DL there. But you know, after a while, when he bought a suspicious amount of paper towels, and I knew he had kids, and sometimes I'd see him with his kids and his wife. And one time I finally said, "Gosh, your family goes through a lot of paper towels." He's like, "Oh no, 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 I do the tattoos in the back." I'm like, "Ah, okay, for the blood, I guess." Like, okay, that's all I needed to know. I'm okay. Not the blood. I don't know. Like, oh, okay. Don't need to know more. Here you are. I shouldn't have asked. No, but they're always very respectful and fun. But my favorite of the three was Fernando. He's a character. He would always be like, "Oh man, I'm so hungover. I gotta go to work," and he'd be like on the phone, like, "Oh, my girlfriends, they're fighting." I'm like, Fernando. He had several baby mamas, you know, the whole nine. He was just like such a character, but he was earnest too. And so one time though, he was talking with this other, he was a guy from the neighborhood who was, I think, is about to go to college. And so they had seen each other, maybe had used to live in the neighborhood, what have you. They were kind of reconnecting right in front of me, right? And so my customer and then Fernando. And so they were talking, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, "All right, man, see you, little homie." And I was like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "Oh, that kid is really going to go far. You know, I call him little homie, you know, it's all of respect." And I'm like, it was like, "Oh, I wish someone would call me little homie." And it's like, "Well, I could give you that nickname." I'm like, "What?" And so the next time he came in, this is classic, because of course I was dying, like, is he gonna remember? And then he comes in, gets his thingies, you know, and he just plucks his things down. He always has like a lot of things going on, always his phone and all, so it's a lot of things. And we do the transaction, and then he waits to the very end. Oh gosh, this is so funny. And he's like, all right, see you, little homie." And I was dying because I'm like, yes, respect. Because I was going to wait till the very end because I'm like, I didn't know if he remembered. Oh man, it was so fun. I had so much fun with those guys. But I felt like very, like, you know, that's the cool thing. Like, I felt like very protected by them. Like, to this day, Fernando, I'm not fucking around. Like, on the street, because I walk by there all the time. I mean, they still exist, you know. And they still have, they hold me with this cool respect, and you know, same, you know. I mean, that's cool. I admire them, what they do, and they're an important part of the fabric of this cool neighborhood. And I like that they do keep an eye on it, and it reminds me very much of Brooklyn, and I used to live there, and that's why I've chosen this neighborhood. And so it meant a lot to me when he did. You know, he doesn't say a lot. You know, they kind of just give you a nod, whatever. Like we don't like, I'm not like running into them all the time. Like, I don't go into their establishment. I respect their space. It's just more of a nod or a smile. They see me go by multiple times a day, most times, and they know me as the old, the old, not the old, but you know what I mean, like the former chorister lady, whatever. The bodega lady. And it's really nice though to have that. It is kind of this respect, and Fernando really did, as I mentioned earlier on in a different video, that I would have been home in Ohio for a couple weeks just visiting, and he literally stopped me and he was like, hey, and he had never done that before, and he's like, are you okay? And he's like, I haven't seen you around. And I'm like, yeah, I just went to Ohio. And he's like, okay, because, and he was like kind of not really saying it, but saying it with his body language, like, if you need help, come here. And I was like, I gotcha, I mean, but that's very comforting for a single lady, not fucking around. And so I very much treat them with respect, and them as well with me. So I'm very pleased to have met them, but the barbershop boys. But they're hilarious too, I mean, I one of these, they would be one of the doors that I'll be most interested to open when all of this is done. I'll be cheering on when the barbershops are open. Well, I'm gonna take off. Yeah, it's about that time. Cool. I'm kind of getting with the program as far as timing here, which is always nice. That's kind of sometimes the hardest part. Um, but yeah, hey, I'm trying to segue into, well, I guess I just naturally am just, kind of weaving in some things that are happening now with some things with the bodega, because to me, they're all kind of interweaving anyway. So thanks so much I gotta give a shout out to my open mic community who's been very supportive to me of segueing into these videos. A lot of them are jumping onto this page, and I just really appreciate your support, and you guys are keeping me going. So, as well as my hometown peeps and everybody who's been following along. Thank you so much. All right, talk to you soon. Hopefully. No, more so soon. Bye.